Joining me to go through these stories is Andrew Eborn, who is barrister, broadcaster, futurist and the president of Octopus TV. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Rosie, and always the perfect start to any day.
Oh, that's so kind. Shall we start with Harry and Meghan? It's unavoidable, front page of every single paper, and the Times is trying to put it in together, a little bit of a timeline of what happened and those statements. Andrew, from your reading of it, what do you think happened?
Well, I think recollections may vary. It seems to be the situation. And I'm one of the very few people who actually speaks up in favour of Harry and Meghan. And so let's take it at face value. What they're saying is this near catastrophic car chase. And the Duke of Sussex, Harry, said it's the closest he's ever felt to understanding what happened on the night that Diana died, obviously 31st of August, 1997. He's always warned about this and said it was actually the reason he left the UK. But basically what happens, the New York Police Department confirmed that there were numerous photographers following the couple and it made their travel challenging. But they also pointed out there were no collisions, injuries or arrests that happened. So we need to get to the bottom of this. As you very wisely pointed out, all of the newspapers chose different pictures of Harry rather than any which might have been supplied by the paparazzi, who may have been chasing the couple, together with Doria Ragland, who's the Duchess's mother. But it is interesting what's going to happen. There's also reports that I've seen that that Harry himself may have filmed some of the paparazzi chasing, and again we could have a look at that sort of side. But if it's true, and it's a 2-hour chase apparently, which I'm not quite sure how that happens in New York because it's an extraordinary thing. And there's reports of getting in and out of taxis and being driven back to police stations. It does sound quite extraordinary.
It sounds miserable for them, truthfully.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
It's the choice of language that's causing a problem. And look, John from Basingstoke's just got in touch. Why are you so obsessed with the Sussexes? This is a non-story. Now, you might listen and think, John, I've got so much sympathy with you. It is on the front page of every single paper. And this is what causes some of the problem, isn't it, Andrew? They said they wanted their privacy, but the press won't give it to them. Do they actually want it? What do we do? All stop talking about them?
Well, I think that's the problem. That's the deal that you do with the devil in a way, isn't it? You turn on, you want to be in the public eye. Let's say that comes with a price. You can't choose when you are. Although, and Harry's in court again over here on a number of different matters about privacy and what sort of protection he should have. If we take it at face value, it is horrendous. It is how his mother died. It is basically turning around. It was his biggest fear was a similar sort of thing might happen to him. But at the same time, they must know that every time they go out, there's going to be a huge crowd, not just of paparazzi, but other people wanting to get their snaps. As I say, what's interesting is they hopped into a taxi, which is a bit bizarre. So Sukhchan Singh, who was 37, he told the Washington Post, they kept following us and were coming next to the car. They took pictures as we stopped and were filming us. I never felt like I was in danger, is what he said. And he talks about having other celebrities in my cab. I mean, that's
he was on Talk TV last night. I think we might not, if you don't care about the couple, you certainly probably do care about the conduct of the press and particularly paparazzi. And I think that raises a broader question. Look, have your say. Let me know what you make of this. What is the real area of concern here? You can text the programme 87222, start your message with the word Times. John from Basingstoke will be delighted. We are moving on, Andrew, onto something else. The Express. The Prime Minister's hinted tax cuts could be on the way before the next general election. Can he actually afford to do that? Because inflation is still stubbornly high.
Well, it's one of the easiest predictions of all. I wouldn't just hint at it. I mean, it's almost certain, isn't it, that before the next election, which must happen by January 2025, he's got wriggle room, if you like, to introduce all sorts of tax cuts and so on and so forth. So he's on his way to, he was on his way to Japan for the G7 summit. You talked about that earlier. And he sort of emphasised again, I'm a low tax conservative. I want to bring people's taxes down. I believe in hard work. Well, there you go. It's going back to what Conservatives do best. They're supposed to be cutting taxes, making sure it's tax efficient and encouraging people and the economy accordingly. So I think, without doubt, he will be looking at tax cuts. And I do believe he will be in a position to do that. I also think some of the terrible things, such as inheritance tax, which needs to be looked at, £325,000 per person, or £500,000 if your principal private residence given to your immediate family, that probably needs to be looked at, and that might be something else that he might turn around and say, well, let me give you something a bit further on that basis, because lots of people are asset rich but cash poor. And I think if you put all these headlines, the way that I like to do it, I always love to see how the media respond to certain things. But stories get fed. What you do is you highlight a particular problem, and then just as election time comes up, here's the solution to that problem everybody's been talking about. So I'm certainly with the Express and other papers on this, but I do believe there will be tax cuts before the next election.
Andrew, you sound buoyant and optimistic. I'm not sure everyone will agree with you. Shall we move to the Daily Mail that says, the Starmer mask slips on Brexit? The paper clearly think that the Labour leader's got an agenda here, but saying that he would, I dread to talk about this just because of how complex and how complicated it was to get the deal over the line. Rishi Sunak obviously managed to do that, but months after Rishi Sunak brokered that agreement, Keir Starmer said the UK needed a better deal. The deal's done, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? The last election was won on get Brexit done, and Keir Starmer obviously thinks, well, let's get Brexit done again, but in a different way.
A better Brexit.
Exactly. So what he's saying, look, he sparked outrage last night by saying that he would try to renegotiate the Brexit deal if he won power. And again, it's what I was saying earlier. You try and pick on the problems that people perceive and turn around and say, well, OK, if I'm in power, this is what I'm going to try and do. And what is he basically was a response to warnings that came from car chiefs that the trade and cooperation agreement with the EU needed to change to protect UK factories and thousands of jobs. So he's looking at that sort of side. It's a headline at the moment, and no doubt this will get eked out over the next few years, or next few months, rather.
Oh, well, all years. I think that might not be correct.
I think I got me right the first time.
On the front page of the Telegraph, they've got this story about the cost to the NHS of people who are obese, which I guess, Andrew, it looks bad. The heaviest patients require spending of £1,400 a year, twice the total for healthy weight. It's not surprising, though, is it?
Well, not really, is it? And you've got to look at deeper, and the Times is also doing it, and they're saying obese patients cost NHS twice as much as those of a healthy weight. And they give the stats. You have a look at it. They looked at healthy records of 2.4 million adults, so not the sort of 1,000 people in a general straw poll. It's lots of people, 2.4 million in northwest London. That's quite a big, sizable stuff. And they looked at basically what hospital admissions, GP appointments and prescriptions. And they say, look, basically obesity-related conditions such as type 2 diabetes and heart disease, these account for a huge amount. And what they did, they then put this into figures. They say, look, on average, 1 million patients in the study were a healthy weight, and they cost the NHS an average of £638 each in 2019, which was the final year of the study. And that was less than half of the £1,375 spent per year on morbidly obese. And that's what morbidly obese, it's BMI, body mass index of more than 40. So it's those sort of statistics. I don't think it's surprising, but they put some figures on it.
And, the question mark will be, who is responsible? Why is it? And we've often had on this programme people talking about just sort of the absolute addictive nature of the processed food that we're all eating, which makes it extremely difficult to make healthy choices, even if you're desperately trying to. One of your topics...
It also raises, Rosie, a couple of interesting solutions, and this will get your wonderful listeners going as well. People say, well, perhaps they should pay more if you're overweight and it's within your control for the care that you receive. And even on airlines, when you talk about excess baggage, should overweight passengers pay more?
Oh my gosh, yes, Andrew, you're really stirring things up.
Oh, stirring it up. It's a Thursday. We love a Thursday.
First thing, well, airlines, I guess, can have their own policies. People may decide just not to fly with them if they put a policy like that in place. Chatbots. Look, you with your sort of futurist head on, quite alarming story in The Sun. This is the former chief business officer for Google who said AI is likely to think of humanity as scum, which needs to be controlled and could easily create its own killing machines. I mean, he said that it's a possibility. It's a bit far away, but basically said we've given technology the power to create its own agenda.
No, absolutely. And every single day there's a story on artificial intelligence and chatbots and robotics. And as you know, I speak around the world on the subject and more platforms than Paddington. And what it basically is, Meghan, that's the name of the chap. He's the former chief business officer for Google's moonshot R&D facility, Google X. And he basically says it's a dystopian future akin to Will Smith's sci-fi movie, I, Robot. And there's a number of things here. He's saying sort of that if you look at it, AI will turn around and say, what we've got here is we're not very nice as a human race. We cause all of the problems. If AI turn around and say, look, what's the solution to this? To how do you end human suffering? They might misunderstand that by in the same way as a vet puts down an injured animal and get rid of humanity. Or you want to solve climate crisis. People sort of turn around, well, what causes climate crisis? It's humanity. So it's all about what's played out in movies and so on and so forth about the rise of the machine. But I often say it's a number of people, including Stephen Hawking, always say it's our greatest human achievement, but also our biggest existential threat. So we need to understand what the opportunities are, but also to turn around and make sure there are regulations in place, make sure that things like copyright are protected. And what he was basically saying, look, we're fake on social media, we're rude, we're angry, and we're lying on social media. So that's why AI might think we're scum.
Final story, Andrew. And I have to say, it's not made me feel that great. Almost a little bit queasy. It's the front page of The Star. It is totally ridiculous. But they've looked at a survey. You just mentioned of those polls of 2,000 people, but one has been conducted ahead of International Tea Day to discover what we are dunking in our tea. And where you might expect a biscuit, a bourbon or a custard cream to be up there, it was. Some rather revolting things are being dunked in tea too.
Absolute, the horror. This is screaming out the headline. The horror of the sausage roll dunkers.
I know, that is disgusting.
It is. I'm with you on that one. Whilst I like to dunk a digestive, and I've lost many a digestive in a cup of tea over the years, what they say, their wonderful headline is 1 in 10 admit to the hideous tea habit. 1 in 10? I don't know anybody who dunks a sausage roll. I'll be fascinated to hear any of your wonderful listeners. If they are sausage roll dunkers, they should get in touch. But they also go on to say 4% of Roggins dip sarnies in brew. I find that extraordinary as well.
A sandwich, but also crisps, samosas. These are things that surely the nice thing about eating them is they've got a nice crisp pastry texture. I mean, a sausage roll dipped in tea, all that flaky pastry, that is absolutely revolting. And then I think the cup of tea left behind would be disgusting.
Oh, and that's the problem. As I say, invariably, I'm sure everybody's been there. If you dunk your digestive, everybody would have fallen foul to the dissolved digestive.
Horrible.
A sausage roll in the bottom of your thing would be awful, I think, on that sort of basis. You've also got the clue is in the title, is a crisp. It's supposed to be a crisp. If you dunk it, it will become a soggy.
Ooh, horrible. Andrew, thank you so much. Andrew Eborn, Futurist and president of Octopus TV. If you have ever dunked, I don't believe, if you're out there and you've dunked a sausage roll in your tea before, let me know. You can